Liverpool begin the defence of their League Cup crown tomorrow evening when they face West Ham United at Anfield. And as ever, I've been hearing from Arne Slot ahead of the game here at the AXA Training Centre, which you can see just behind me at his pre-match press conference he's held today, and loads to get into from this one. And he was in positive mood, I will say that as well. I mean, it's been a testing week really for Liverpool, hasn't it? You think back to that defeat to Nottingham Forest, the first big question marks of Arne Slot's reign thrown up by that result. Real disappointment there, especially in a home game against the side you'd think would be towards the bottom half of the table this season, but they bounced back in style really to beat Milan 3-1 and then Bournemouth 3-0. So the mood around the place is definitely back up, and I think you could sense that in Arne Slot's demeanour. He seems positive, seems confident, but of course another test now, a new competition, something he's unfamiliar with, and coming up against a West Ham team who are in poor form at the moment, you have to say, but for that reason they'll be absolutely desperate, won't they, to bounce back, and a result at Anfield could really turn their season around. So I'm sure this will be a difficult one for Liverpool, but as I say, Arne Slot seeming in real positive mood and seemingly looking forward to this one as well. Now I go into the talking points from the press conference as usual, and I think the best place to start really is with the team news. Now of course, we've known in the past that this has been a competition where Liverpool have often made a lot of changes, particularly in the early rounds under Jurgen Klopp. So we don't quite know how it's going to go under Arne Slot, exactly how we will approach this. But I did do a team selector actually on YouTube, which was published yesterday evening. Do have a look for that. Have a look at the team that I selected. I put quite a few changes in there, and I would urge you to take a look and see whether you agree or disagree with that one. But as for what Arne Slot is actually going to do, he was asked about that, and he was a little bit coy in it, didn't want to give too much away, but he did hint that there's going to be quite a few changes in this one. I mean, he suggested really that he wants to name the best team he possibly can, but the likelihood is that the best team he can possibly name is the one with the freshest legs. You know, the players have got through a lot of football recently. They're in a run of a lot of games, 7 games in 21 days, is it? So I think he wants to keep that freshness there. So that to me suggests that he is going to make quite a few changes. He's certainly hinting at that. And I mean, when you look at the options he's got, the likes of Jarell Quansah, Connor Bradley waiting for starts this season, then, you know, it makes sense to make a lot of changes. And I still think, as I mentioned in the video where I did the team selection, that I think he'll be able to still put out a really, really decent team. Now, spoilers for that video, I did put Federico Chiesa in there, and it does sound like from Arne Slot that it is likely that Chiesa will start. He was asked about the possibility of that and said, look, he's physically ready to make that start. He absolutely could do it if we select him. So that bodes well, and I think it's exactly why he got around 20 minutes against Bournemouth, is to ready him for this one. But he did also suggest he's not quite ready to do 90 minutes yet. His fitness isn't quite there, obviously. He came in from Juventus late, hadn't really been training much there because they were waiting for him to get that move. So he's not quite at his full fitness yet, but really exciting if he does get that start, and I'm leaning towards the idea that he will. You know, even if he can do 60 minutes, that's a real step forward for him in his Liverpool career, because obviously he's just kind of waiting to get going now and looks really excited to do so. So real chance that Chiesa does feature from the start tomorrow, which I think is very exciting. Unfortunately, no Alisson Becker. He is still out with that slight muscle issue that kept him out of the Bournemouth game. I think Kevin Kelleher would have started this one anyway, but the headline news really on Alisson is that he's going to miss this one, and also Arne Slot said it's going to be quite tight to make the Wolves game at the weekend. Obviously Liverpool have got a great deputy in Kevin Kelleher, but you want Alisson back as soon as possible, and it still seems like he's a little bit of a doubt for the game at Wolves at the weekend, so we'll have to see how that one goes and whether we have a further update on that in the press conference that comes ahead of the weekend's game. And finally, a little bit of team news to tidy up is on Trey Nyoni. Now, been a lot of talk around the possibility of him starting. Obviously, you've got to remember he's only 17, physically not quite there, is he? But it sounds like he's going to be involved in the squad at least, which I think is, again, you know, people very excited to see him. He still feels like a new signing, doesn't he? He's such a young player, a huge talent, and did really well in pre-season. It's clearly impressed Arne Slot. Now, Slot was asked about the fact that the under-21s have a game in the EFL Trophy this evening against Harrogate Town. Now, of course, if Nyoni was involved in that, it'd be very unlikely he was involved in the squad to face West Ham. And he actually said there's a fair chance he's going to be involved in the squad to face West Ham. That seems like, oh, that was a suggestion that is likelier than him being involved in the squad against Harrogate Town. So again, excitement. I don't really think Nyoni will be a starter in this one, but I think there's potentially minutes for him there in midfield, which again, really looking forward to seeing him again. Such a big talent, and he did show that in pre-season, so looking more likely that he will be in that squad than be in the under-21 squad, judging from what Arne Slot said. So just to wrap up as well, a couple more interesting points. The biggest interesting point for me in the press conference was he was asked about Trent Alexander-Arnold, and you will have seen those quotes from the mix zone over the weekend where he spoke a little bit about his Liverpool future and the potential of signing a new contract, but also the fact that he's been working on the defensive side of his game with Arne Slot. And Arne Slot was asked about that and the fact that he's made defensive improvements, and he kind of played it down and tried to be humble about it and said, the only thing I know is we're talking about a player who's won the Champions League and a league title. It's clear to me he's been a good defender all his life. It's not about if he's capable of doing these things, it's more about his concentration rate. And he spoke about the fact that is the main thing they've been focused on, is making sure that Trent is concentrated on the defensive aspect at all times in the game, whether the ball is on the other side of the pitch, whether it's on his side, or whether he's in a one-on-one duel, or whether he's just got to be aware of the switch of the play or anything like that. So I thought it was really interesting on that. And he actually spoke about the fact that they've got a good relationship so far. Obviously Trent had said that, and he said that is really pleasing for him to hear as a manager who's come in to replace a legendary figure in Klopp. He likes to hear that the players are taking to his methods, that they like working with him. So he seemed really positive and encouraged by that. So, and you have to say it is good news that the players do seem to like this manager. They seem to like working with him. That bodes really well for what's to come under his stewardship. So going to leave it there. That's basically the summary of the press conference. Pretty short and sweet really from Arne Slot. They always are really in comparison to Jurgen Klopp, a little bit different in that way, and he does also have them nice and early in the morning, as you may have noticed, which is a nightmare for us. You have to get up early, but I won't hold that against him, particularly if he keeps the wins coming. Now I will be there on Wednesday at Anfield as ever to give my post-match review, so if you don't subscribe to the channel, please do come on board, and I hope you're enjoying the content. There's team selections, press conferences, and of course matches and everything else that goes with it. Transfer news as ever when that is relevant too. So loads to get on board with, and the season's getting really busy now. So do hit that subscribe button. If you can like the videos as ever, I always massively appreciate that. Really does help to get them out to a wider audience. And so for now, I'll see you after the game on Wednesday. Looking forward to it.